Hi, my name is Zoe Howard, and this is my submission for the Ms. Turner case study for EDL 517. Looking at this case study, Ms. Turner can absolutely be reprimanded and have disciplinary action taken towards her for her outbursts, verbally and through email, for her not receiving the promotion that she thought that she rightfully deserved. However, I do not believe that termination is the right approach to how her discipline or reprimanding should have been handled. Looking at Michigan state law, because I am from Michigan, Michigan is no longer a right to work state. So teacher tenure and the Teacher Tenure Act are two of the only things that really protect Michigan teachers from unlawful termination through good or just cause. Looking at the state laws, Ms. Turner absolutely could be disciplined or reprimanded for her outbursts due to how she decided to handle the situation where she did not obtain the promotion that she thought that she rightfully deserved. A quote from Cornell Law from Waters v. Churchill in 1994. A quote, "It is important to ensure that not only the substantive First Amendment standards are sound, but also that they are applied through reliable procedures. Not every procedure may safeguard protected speech is constitutionally mandated, and each procedure involves a different mix of administrative burden, risk of erroneous punishment or protected speech, and risk of erroneous expulsion or unprotected speech." Essentially, that is saying that you can't just claim First Amendment rights for whatever you want to say. Every single thing that you say can have consequences, whether it be good or bad. In this case, Ms. Turner decided to, 1, yell at her principal, and 2, send out an email stating that he is essentially a moron, an idiot, for not choosing her, which you really can't do. You can complain to your friends, you can talk to your therapist, but we can't be having those outbursts. Looking at the next question, were the hiring processes legal and ethical? Somewhat. Almost every part of the hiring process for the supervisor position, when it came down to Mr. Jones and Ms. Turner, was legal and ethical, except having the superintendent be on the interviewing board for Mr. Jones's interview. As stated in the case study, Mr. Jones and the superintendent seem to be very closely tied together in more of a personal relationship rather than a professional relationship, which links to USC Code 208, financial conflicts of interest. As this position most likely has a salary increase, having the superintendent be on Mr. Jones's interview committee is very likely a conflict of interest, as they are close personal friends, and as Mr. Jones would be obtaining a salary increase, this directly violates the USC Code 208. And Ms. Turner could absolutely go and file a lawsuit against this, claiming that the conflict of interest in the hiring process gave Mr. Jones an unfair advantage, something that they could have done rather than having the superintendent from their school be on the hiring committee. They could have had a principal from another school or another high-up individual in the school system on Mr. Jones's hiring committee, or even just in general, to ensure that there are no legal or ethical boundaries being crossed. And I can understand the frustration and anger that Ms. Turner was experiencing throughout this. So in Michigan, looking back again at the protected speech and unprotected speech of teachers, as stated by FindLaw.com, it is important to know that this rule doesn't say why a teacher can be fired. This is relating to the Teacher Tenure Act. It outlines how a school should go about dismissing a teacher, and many school policies include extra rules that school follows during this procedure. This relates directly to the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment on how we as teachers, we kind of have a little bit more strict laws and rules regarding our free speech, as we are in a public position, not just at a private company or business. Looking at the legal procedures that Ms. Turner could consider when she wants to sue the school district, the hiring committee was absolutely going against the Equal Opportunities Act, as they were planning on reprimanding her and potentially terminating her due to one outburst. Although she did not take this accordingly, termination should not be the first option here, as she has had a clean record for the last 30 years. And nowhere in here does it say that she's tenured, but we're kind of assuming that she's tenured. And there are many, many steps you have to go through to potentially terminate an educator who is tenured. And as it seems that the hiring process was unethical and not legal, she can absolutely sue on terms of that 1 USC Code 8208 based on the financial benefits, and for the Equal Employment Opportunities activity. She could sue based on the reprimanding of the employee and giving a performance evaluation that is lower than it should be, and transferring the employee to a less desirable position. Although she is not being transferred, she is being kept at her position when the hiring process was not ethical or legal. So it makes it a really gray area. Overall, she should absolutely be disciplined. There should be a talk with HR, with the superintendent. She could have gone about this in a much different way to ensure that everything she is doing is legal and ethical on her part, to really cover herself in case termination or discipline comes up, which it has. No one in this situation is right, but everyone is a little bit wrong.